Okay, welcome everyone. This is Shamatha meditation in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. My name is Dan. Last week we did a meditation on a small object. So in here we did a rock. You could also use a stick. At home, you could use whatever you want, whatever worked for you. So I'm gonna start with people at home because you might have to scramble to get an object. So if you have any statue or image of a Buddha or Bodhisattva, any devotional statue or image, Jesus, cross, anything like that that has meaning to you, the point of doing a devotional object is that you can focus on something that maybe has meaning to you, maybe spiritual, deeper meaning to you. And you can, by focusing on that as your meditation object, maybe the qualities of that spiritual image, icon will connect with you, arise in you. So that's totally optional though. You can also use any physical object. You can use a small rock, you can use a stick, you can use, like we said last time, any small object you have handy, a mug, a salt shaker, bottle cap, anything like that. So you guys can get creative, say hello in the chat if you want. And also I'm interested to hear what you guys are meditating on at home. In a pinch, you can always pull up an image of a Buddha online. And you can also meditate on this image of Guanyin behind me, Avalokiteshvara. If you can't pull up an image on your phone without switching over off of the YouTube stream. So then while you guys are finding an object, some people came in. Would you guys like a Buddha? Or if you don't want to do a Buddha, you can do a rock? Buddha? So you might want to sit, if you guys are on the pew, you can just turn the chair in front of you around so that you have something to set it on. Keep those as those. And a couple of Buddhas. So, sorry? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I don't need all these tiny little Buddhas. They're for you. Okay, so there's two things that are different about this week. From last week. Oh, and I need one for me too. I hope I didn't give them all out. This week, the two things that are going to be different are potentially meditating on a devotional object instead of just a rock or stick. And then secondly, we're going to try to work towards, unless you guys have really good, vivid imaginations, you might not reach that point this time. But we're going to work towards being able to imagine memorizing the object so we can actually meditate it. At some point in this practice, the monks and stuff will get to the point where they know the object so well that they don't even need it anymore. They just sit down and it said they can actually see the object as vividly in their imagination as they can in real life. So we're not going to get to that point today, but I want to show you guys some techniques to working towards that. If for no other reason than to expose you to a different style of meditation on physical objects. Okay, so is anyone here new to meditation? Okay, nobody, good. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our motivation to meditate. So does anyone want to share why they meditate, what they hope to get out of it, if anything? Yeah.
Recently, it's been to control my fucking OCD and rumination.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a common one, especially in the West.
Yeah.
I think probably a large percentage of people have some form of OCD, and rumination is the curse of. I think it's the curse of everyone. I think it was my intuition at some point that was kind of a Western thing, and like in the East it wasn't as bad. But there's even in like ancient times when people didn't have computers and all the hectic stuff of modern world, even in the older books, rumination is talked about as one of the curses of humanity. Hello, we're doing meditation on Buddha images. I'm out of Buddhas. So you can meditate on a rock if you'd like. And yeah, I need more Buddhas. And or if you like, you could also meditate on any of these statues. It's your meditation object. And then if you turn, what?
I was just saying why.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Give you context.
And then you might want to turn the chair around in front of you so that you can set the rock on the chair. Sorry that it's so complicated today. Are you new to meditation? New to meditation?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome.
I was coming here like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, welcome back. So in Tibetan Buddhism so far, there's something called the common preliminaries. I haven't discussed those up until now because they kind of have a prerequisite, the way they're presented. If you don't believe in reincarnation, then they're not really, they don't really work as presented. The common preliminaries are, there's common and uncommon. The common are developing the motivation of renunciation and developing the motivation of bodhicitta. But I was thinking about it and I decided it's not really fair to, because sometimes it's presented like believing in reincarnation is actually a prerequisite for Tibetan Buddhist practice. I don't think that's fair for a couple of reasons. One, it's easy to believe in reincarnation if that's how you were raised. So it's not a fair bar that a culture that is raised that way, expects us to like go there. It's kind of like reaching out and expecting like the mountain to come to you instead of going to the mountain. So the other thing is not consistent with what the Buddha said when he said, test his teachings like a goldsmith tests gold. I certainly haven't figured out a way to test whether reincarnation is real. It would probably involve us all drinking a bowl of poison punch, but then after that step, I'm not sure how we would then regroup to see how the experiment went. So reincarnation makes sense to me, but I can't prove it. I can't demonstrate it to you. And it's really just my opinion since I can't prove it. So what I'm going to try to do is explain renunciation and bodhicitta from the point of view of materialism. We're not going to do it this week. This week, we're going to talk about what our motivation looks like without those. But materialism, I don't mean that that's kind of at least what the Buddhists call our system. They're not saying we're materialistic. They're saying that we believe matter is primary. So there was the Big Bang, and then evolution, and no consciousness, no awareness, and then at some point, oops, consciousness just arises out of either complex intelligence of animals or humans, or however far back you want to think that it goes. And it's just a sort of this anomaly of the physical world. Versus in Tibetan Buddhism, there's either the whole like Chittamatra Yogacara thing where matter doesn't even exist and it's all generated from consciousness being primary. Or I hadn't heard this much, but I was just listening to Thupten Jinpa today, and he was saying physical reality and consciousness both exist, and then as primary, and then they interact, which I actually like a lot. So meditating without renunciation or bodhicitta is called small motivation. I don't think it's meant as an insult, because if you don't have motivation, there's also not having motivation to meditate at all. So middling motivation is when you have the renunciation. Great motivation is when you have bodhicitta, of course. But like if I had to walk everywhere and someone gave me a small car, or I was living on the street and someone gave me a small house, or if I was poor and someone gave me a small fortune, small isn't necessarily bad. It's actually a great place to start. And so then jumping to 3 qualities of the Dharma that separate Buddhism from some other religious views. I really like these. They kind of relate to what I was saying earlier about the gold. But so these, when there's a meditation in Theravada where you go through the qualities of the Dharma, I think there's like 7 of them. But these are the ones I wanted to go over. Visible here and now. So no faith is required. This isn't, you have to believe something that you can't see or experience. Not delayed. You don't have to die to find out whether it's true or not. And it should be relatively quick that you can actually see. This isn't like you have to do this practice for 10 years on faith and then see if it helps you or not. And then these are kind of interrelated. And then inviting of inspection. So in the Vishuddhamagga, the analogies that they use are if I said I have a gold nugget in my hand, if I'm lying, I'm not going to say, come and see it. I'm going to say, believe it's here. You have to believe. Similarly, if I had a pile of garbage behind my house and I was trying to make you think it was a pile of treasure, I wouldn't invite you to come see it. So the come and see is really a good indicator that it's not a bunch of baloney, because if it was a bunch of baloney, the last thing we'd want to do is invite you to come and see. But what I want us to do is actually, oh yeah, and then the other example that I had was if you're at the toy store and there's, I don't know if they even do this anymore, but they used to have like little plush toys and they'd have a little hole in there. So you could feel that it was soft, or if it was supposed to say something, if it was Darth Vader, come to the dark side, you could push the little button through the little hole. Again, when you buy the toy and take it home, it's not going to be like as rough as sandpaper, or not going to work because you already tested it. So I want us to actually put this to the test. Last week, I was talking about Dr. Amishi Jha, who said there's scientific evidence that you will benefit from 12 minutes of meditation 4 times a week for 4 weeks. So that's as much faith as you would need to do that, and then evaluate whether or not it helped you. Because if it doesn't help you, you might be doing the wrong kind of meditation. Breath meditation is very common, but it's not necessarily going to be one size fits all for everyone. There could be someone out there that breath meditation just doesn't work for. Mantra meditation might work best for someone. Visual object meditation, I don't think is very popular these days, but there might be someone that it really works well with. So I actually prefer visual object meditation to breath or mantra. So I like the analogy of physical exercise when we're looking at what would we expect to gain after 12 minutes a day, 4 times a week for 4 weeks. Obviously, it's not going to be life transformative. Similarly, if you went to the gym for that period of time, you would expect to see some kind of result, that it was working, that you're not just like, if I was doing this 12 minutes a day for 4 weeks, 4 times a week, I probably would not notice any benefit. And I would say, okay, that is not a good exercise. So if anyone wants to throw out what you might expect as a benefit after 4 weeks of meditating or of exercising, some kind of exercise, going to the gym, going on a walk, running, treadmill, lifting weights. And I have some I've already thought about if no one wants to throw something out. But
Loose that, gain muscle.
yeah. Those were 2 of mine actually. So
capacity.
what?
Increase capacity.
Yeah, that was
Increased energy.
yeah.
I guess capacity.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had. The other one I had was that the exercise might get easier over time. And the other one I had was it's not necessarily going to be all good. You might feel sore, especially if you work out too much too fast. You might feel sore muscles, sore legs. When I do cardio, even if I haven't done it in a while, I'll get sore legs and it's hard to get out of bed. So even if you see results that aren't pleasant, that also can be an indication that it's working. So last week we talked about long-term benefits of bliss, clarity, and non-conceptuality that appear over time as you meditate. Does anyone want to throw out some things that they might think, either if you've been meditating a while that you think is a short-term benefit, or if you were new to meditation and you were going to do 12 minutes a day, 4 times a week for 4 weeks, what are some benefits that you might notice? You probably won't be able to levitate yet, but anyone want to throw out? If not, I have some I'm going to go over. So you guys are all more in tune with physical exercise.
Calmer, maybe?
Yeah, so I had that on the way to non-conceptuality, a reduction in compulsive thought energy. So yeah, calmer. I don't think I had emotional reduction in like negative emotional energy, but you could have that. It's like as far as non-conceptuality, like before I started meditating, I used to always feel like I was treading water. Like my thoughts were spinning all the time as a way to stay on top of all the information I needed to stay on top of, on top of all my worries and all my anxieties, thinking about all the things that could happen. And, this probably wouldn't happen. And this probably wouldn't happen if I do this versus this versus this. This is probably a little bit better of an idea. Like just constantly thinking about everything to try to make the best choices and not be afraid and not be anxious. So you should notice that settling down just a little bit. Scientifically measurable doesn't mean that it's going to be super, super obvious. But I think it is important to see that our meditation is having, just like if we were working out, you want to see that there's some benefit, or else why are you doing it? And do you really even know if that's the right meditation for you? Do you even know you're doing it right? Et cetera, et cetera. I also had meditation might get a little easier, just like with the exercise. I also had on the way to bliss, you might feel a little better, and that's also kind of related to calm. Or if you always feel like crap, you might feel a little less crappy. But your baseline of how you feel might go up just a bit. And then related to clarity, and this is the one that they scientifically measured, better attention, less distraction, going about your daily life, especially after your attention has been stressed for a while. So we all have the ability to pay attention to something for a brief period of time. But if you've been taxed, if your attention is being taxed, keeping it level without falling off. And then, of course, with that comes being more in tune with the present moment and with sensory experiences. So, and then also just like working out, you could actually feel like things are getting worse. I've heard from lamas that a lot of people report when they first start meditating, they go, what's going on? All of a sudden, I have all of these extra thoughts in my head. And what's typically taught is that it's like a stream that you can't see the fish because it's muddy, and then the mud goes away, and then you can see the fish. It's like you're seeing what was already there. Yeah.
I got depressed for a long time.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm still working on it. I had been so dopamine hijacked that like calming, was meditating, actually depressed me.
Did you meditate a lot?
What?
Did you like jump into meditating a lot, or you were just doing like a few minutes a day?
It was coming here twice a week.
Okay.
It was anywhere, but after meditation, I would visibly or physically feel shaken, because like peace felt dangerous, like in a weird way. And I know some of that's probably trauma response too, but like it was very strange to me, because like I even asked Jeff, I was like what happens if you don't feel better after meditating? You actually feel like because my mind for so long, doing the jobs that I did, and like it's been on survival mode and like high level like bodily work for so long, like feeling peace felt so dangerous. And I would leave like feeling shell shocked, but like also craving it more. It was weird.
So while it was negative, it was also a sign that something was happening.
Yeah, and I'm going through like major dopamine detox right now. Like my body just said no. And so like no more social media, no more, I don't even like TV, and I haven't liked it in years, but like now like I can't, like it's just like almost anhedonia in a lot of respects. But like
so are you saying like you had the dopamine hits from all the TV, social media, and then all the stimulation, and then you have calm, and it's like
phone, but yeah, I even work like high stress jobs, right? Like and overworked. Like I didn't want to be home. Like I didn't want to be bored.
Yeah.
And so I would overwork. I would like do extreme sports, like, and realize this year that like a lot of that was just like a constant flood of dopamine, just and me operating at a level where at 42 my body said no. But like I've been coming here for 6 years and meditating on my own before that, on and off, but it would be weird because like I would feel the peace, but my body felt it was so dangerous.
Mhm.
Like, you can't rest. You can't rest. You can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird to kind of go through those cycles and notice those. You know? Like,
Yeah. So a couple points that kind of fits in with what I was going to say, because I kind of disagree with the you're just seeing the fish that were already there, because I experienced that too. Now I actually jumped into meditation. I always felt I was meditating too much, but what I literally wrote here was that it can knock loose some of your demons, you know, and it's just like sore muscles. It's a sign that it's working, but you do need to be careful. I always thought it was because I meditated so much at first, but apparently even with, you know, moderate meditation or minor meditation.
It wasn't the meditation that knocked loose the demons. I just noticed like this unsettled feeling, and it was almost like mildly suicidal. It was like, if this is how people are supposed to feel, I don't want it, and that means that this is wrong, right? And yet now, like, especially going through all this, like, you know, I crave peace a lot more, and it still feels off. Like, resting is very hard for me emotionally. And, you know, a lot of this is just built up crap from childhood that just went hyperdrive. But the funny thing is just noticing it, right? And then like noticing that, like, I felt uncomfortable after meditation for 5 years.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? And then going like, why? Like, why half the time would I feel uncomfortable calming my body? And
well, and just like when you exercise, you know, they say check with your physician first.
Yeah.
There might be a, you know, psychological or psychiatric reasons why you have such an adverse reaction to meditation.
I know it now.
Yeah.
It's just funny, but now like I crave it more. It's like, you know, I'll sit with my body for, especially if I'm feeling like a storm, I'll just be like, okay, well, we're gonna sit, and you're not gonna like this, but you know, this is how we get better.
Yeah. Like, I'm a big believer in meditation over, you know, psychiatry and psychology. It's just always been my preference. But I think it's not necessarily going to fix everything. And I think to try to resolve your problems, psychological problems, psychiatric problems through meditation, you might have to endure a bumpier road than some of the other cures, solutions, fixes that are out there. But to resolve your problems through meditation, I think is to find mental sanity through meditation, I think is a great way to do it. You don't have to pay a psychologist. You don't have to be hooked on psychiatric medications, but it doesn't work for everyone. So do be careful with, you know, I guess any level of meditation. You don't know necessarily what it's going to bring up for you. But if it does that, it's a sign that it's working, you know, it's a sign it's doing something. And I haven't seen any studies that meditation can be long-term unhealthy. So I think that's
just big meditation, bro. That's the industry.
That's the industry. Yeah. That's what they want us to believe. So, is there any questions on any of this? Because otherwise we're gonna move on to the practice part of today. So what we're gonna do with this devotional object meditation, I'm gonna guide you through. So last time it was 3 stages. This time it's gonna be 5 stages, because we're gonna add a stage to memorize the object, and then I'm gonna guide you through these stages much faster than you'll actually go through them, so that I can guide you through them, and then you can drop back to the first stage if you want. It's up to you whether or not you want to get to the point where you want to start trying to memorize it in your imagination. And some of you might be more experienced meditators or whatever, where you get to the point where you can just close your eyes and imagine it. So we'll go through that briefly, but again, it's not a race. This is something that even dedicated monks spend days and days and days and days and days and days doing. I just want to try to give you guys the skills and the exposure to it. So first of all, go ahead and get into meditation posture. Any posture is fine as long as your spine is straight. And next week we'll go back through every now and then I like to go through the 7-point Vajrayana posture, but we won't do it today. Especially since if you're in the 7-point Vajrayana posture, you can't really look down at your thing. So then based on everything we just talked about, go ahead and we're going to spend just a few seconds reflecting on your motivation, why you're meditating. It might be that you have the bodhicitta and you want to meditate to help bring all beings to enlightenment, or you might just be trying to get through the day, or you might be trying to do better at work, or whatever it is. So you can go ahead and do that. And then you can go ahead and relax your body, let your breathing be natural, relax your mind. You don't need to think about anything intentionally. You don't need to do anything. Just kind of be with your awareness. Rest in your awareness. And let me make this official. So for the first stage, what we're going to do is just look at the Buddha statue or whatever rock, whatever you're looking at. If you're at home, no one put in the chat what they're meditating on. So whatever you're meditating on, just look at it. The point of this stage is when you first sit down and start meditating, you might find a lot of thoughts start bubbling up right away. So this is kind of just like letting the toddler run around in circles and run out of energy and fall over. Before we try to do too much, we're going to just let our thoughts bubble up and kind of resolve their own energy while maintaining our gaze, our look on the statue. The other thing I like to warn people of when we start this is that there's something called Troxler's effect, Troxler's fading. So when you look at the same object, if you don't move your gaze and you're not blinking a lot, things around you can start getting dark. You might start seeing halos and weird effects. You can just either ignore those or just blink a few times, look around a little bit, and it should clear up. So we're going to move on. If you need to, you could, after the guidance, you can drop back and stay at stage one the whole time if you've got a lot of energy that needs to bubble out. The next stage, once your thoughts have calmed down just a little bit, is we're going to direct our thoughts towards the object. So you can just start thinking Buddha, 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 or you can think statue, 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 rock, 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 rock. If you're looking at Guanyin, 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 Guanyin. And so that's directing our mental focus. For one, you're controlling your thoughts, so that keeps discursive thoughts, random thoughts at bay. And then for two, by thinking about repeating the name of the object you're looking at, you're starting to direct your mind towards that object. So I'll do that for a little bit. So again, after the guidance, you can come back to the stage for as long as you need. Once you feel like your mind is kind of stabilized to where you're repeating the word, statue, rock, and you feel like your mind is kind of starting to focus, you can drop the repetition so that now, rather than being distracted by that, your whole mind is focused on the Buddha statue or rock or whatever you're looking at. And since we'll be moving to our imagination, you really want your whole mind focused on the object. And you probably also want to be really focused on the visual information, any little details, any little curves, all the little variations in color, subtle variations from lighting and shade. So that's a good way to get your mind involved with the object, and it's also a good way to prepare for what's coming up next. So I'll do this for just a little while. Okay, now for the fun part, we're going to try to memorize the object in our imagination, or create a basically reflected image of the object in our imagination. So my advice for this is look at it for a while and then try. So one approach would be that you look at it, then you close your eyes and try to imagine it. What I do is I try to imagine it before I close my eyes. So I try to imagine it right where it is. I engage, it's hard to explain, but you engage your imagination to already try to imagine it where it is before you close your eyes. So that the second, you won't see it, obviously, over the image that's actually there. But the second you close your eyes, that imagined image is already there, versus closing your eyes and then trying to imagine it. I find that fluidity helps to get a vivid image. Then hold that image for as long as you can in your imagination. It might not be very long at all. And then also, as you're opening your eyes back up, keep your imagination engaged. So for that brief instant, you can actually compare what you had in your imagination to what's really there. You'll find, at least I find, that while I'm holding it in my imagination, it will tend to get bigger, out of proportion. Then when you open your eyes back up again, you see, oh, it's actually that big and it's got that shape. Then once your eyes are back open, you can rest your imagination for a little bit and just observe it, observe it, observe it. Then engage your imagination again, close your eyes for as long as you can hold it vividly, open your eyes back up again, rest your imagination. So that's kind of the cycle. You guys can practice that for a little bit. So being able to memorize an object like this to where you can see it vividly in your imagination is expected to take quite a long time, just as working out to have a certain capacity of being able to lift so much weight would take a long time. But we're just going to very briefly try the fifth and final stage of this, where just keep your eyes closed and do your best to imagine and meditate on the imagined image of the statue or rock or whatever you're using. So you guys can open your eyes, move around a little bit. I was going to go into open meditation where you guys could drop back to whatever phase you wanted. We'll go back to that. But I did want to, we have like 18 minutes left. So I want to just see if you guys had any questions, comments on what we did so far. Anybody already get to the fifth stage until you have like this perfect imaginary object?
I imagine parts, and putting it together was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to get to some advice on that in a second. I have 2 words of advice for you guys, but maybe I'll do that and then we'll see if there's more comments. So one is if you actually do this, make sure you keep the lighting the same on it because it can look a lot different. So artificial lighting is probably good because you can control it, and then make sure it's in the same place, same lighting, same everything, so that, because if I take this and move it over here, or if I turn it, totally changes how it looks as far as the variations in color, the reflections. Secondly, and to your point, one thing that you can do is focus very closely on a specific detail. And then even just kind of open and close your eyes and just try to memorize one little detail. And then do another detail, another detail, another detail, another detail, another detail. Then take in the whole thing, look at the whole thing, try to get the whole thing in your imagination. And then you can kind of look around it. Look at its head, look at its arm, look at its other arm. And then you're recalling those details that you memorized as you move your imaginary visual gaze around the object. I find that can really help with the imaginary object because it tends to fade. I feel that keeps it in your imagination without fading. I feel like it helps and be more vivid and more detailed to take that approach. So any other questions, comments? Yeah.
Is there a difference doing this with a 3D object versus like a photograph?
I don't know. I haven't done it with a photograph, but I know that like some of these tankas and stuff, they will actually be used as an object of. So I'd be wary of using a virtual image like on a computer screen, but yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons that we have these tankas, they're called, and so you can actually memorize all of the details on one of those. And then in Tibetan Buddhism, they eventually get to what's called creation stage, where, before that, they have in the lower tantras, they have where you imagine something like that, but in 3D and with all the details. But the deity, like the deity is the Buddha or whatever who's sitting on that, usually on a lotus. So at first, you imagine that whole thing and all of his attendants and all the jewelry and crowns and everything that this deity is wearing, until you can see that super vividly. And then eventually you get to creation stage where you imagine yourself as the deity. But that's all very, and then they get to a point where they take it all and like shrink it down to this size. So this is like years and years and years of training and imagination. And for these these Tibetan Tantra practices, it's your imagination has to be very, very trained and very, very vivid. So me getting into this at 51, I don't really have a prayer, but especially if you're starting early. And I think just, I think meditating using your imagination, I think is a nice way to do it. Because one of the things that I like is because my mental energy is being utilized rather than if I'm just looking at the rock. And I feel like there's all this extra mental capacity that's just it's like having the car with the big engine and you're trying to go like really, really slow. The more I can engage that whole mind, I feel like it makes it a little less likely to be distracted. But so that's what I have to say on the 2D image. 2D, and then eventually making that 2D image in your imagination into a 3D kind of thing. You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Anything else? If not, we'll jump back into meditation for the few minutes we have left. Okay, so back into your meditation postures if you went out of them. And for just a couple seconds, again, just rest in open awareness. Then you guys can start back over at stage 1 and move through them as quickly or slowly as you like. Oops. you find yourself, if you find that you've been distracted, just gently bring yourself back to your meditation object. Also, if you find you're being distracted too much at a certain stage, you can always drop back to repeating Buddha, 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 or go back to something easier, reestablish your stability, and then move forward again. So just for reference, that was 10 minutes. I wanted to go 12, but that would have put us out of here a little late. So again, homework, challenge, whatever is, try this. Doesn't have to be, you can all take these Buddhas home. You're welcome to do this meditation at home. Or do 12 minutes on your breath, 12 minutes of mantra, whatever your more normal meditation is. If you don't already meditate, 12 minutes a day, 4 days a week, then try doing that for 4 weeks and see how it goes. See if you notice the difference. If you don't, then no point wasting your time. So if it's not working for you, try a different meditation and be a little scientific experiment for everyone. So that is, I think, all that I have. Were there any questions or comments from that last round? Anybody get to stage 5 and close?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
But I did sort of, I got to a point where I was closing my eyes really slowly, and then doing the thing that you were telling, because when I closed faster, then I would move, and then I would kind of lose it. So I went really slowly, and I could still, it became black. It wasn't gold anymore, but then it stayed in the same place. And I was able to sort of stand, but it was very small and black, so it had no detail, but so it had a shape.
That's good.
Yeah, my perspective kind of like moves. Like I want to zoom in on it, and so I kind of like try to get closer in my mind. I'm like, no, it's like it needs to stay.
Oh, you were trying to zoom in on it in your mind?
Yeah.
Did you try moving your visual gaze and your imagination around to different parts of it? Yeah, I find that incredibly helpful. I didn't do that at first, and somehow by like looking at different parts of it, it keeps it vivid versus trying to keep the whole thing. Did you notice that too? Yeah.
Yeah, because I felt like from this perspective, the way the light's hitting it, I can't really like make out the face enough to really like memorize it. And when I kept thinking that, I kept like trying to zoom in my mind.
Yeah.
One thing that was interesting to me is noticing how my vision with focus changes the lighting a little bit.
Really?
I don't know if that happened to any of you guys, but it's like the more I focus, the more I could see like little bits of light that were, kind of like just a little bit more prevalent than what I had seen, or like a little sparkle like would just show up, and I'm like, oh, that's a point that I did not see like a minute ago. I couldn't tell.
Did you have a pretty fixed focus, like where you weren't blinking a lot and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because that could be some of that Troxler's effect, where you can start seeing halos and things.
I
So
saw
it
halos,
could.
I saw like light behind it.
So it could be that, like bringing out
It's
bringing out the lighting details more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting, fun practice. I like the rock meditation too. So maybe
I
I'm.
tried to bend the Buddha, but I think it didn't work. Didn't work.
You tried to what?
Joking. Bend the Buddha, but I think.
Oh. Yeah. They do get into some of that stuff. They don't bend spoons and stuff, but the whole emptiness thing. Yeah.
I don't know if we're visual creatures, right? And so many of us are staring at our phones or like crazily at something, extremely focused on one pointed thing throughout the day. So I don't know if it's just like my eyeballs are tired, that aspect of my mind is tired, but it felt like the same kind of visual, I don't know. It was difficult for me. It felt like the same thing as like staring at my phone, honestly.
Okay. So that would make it easy though, right?
No.
No? You don't like staring at your phone?
No, well, it's like there's the difference between the like focused, hard gaze and like a peripheral gaze. So those things for me do very different things in my nervous system. So when I'm staring so hard at one thing for a really long time, I don't know, my nervous system was like, no.
Interesting. So you felt thought energy was on the rise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It calms me, and that might be another one of those not one size fits all things.
Exactly.
So this could be it could be that it's a good meditation for you, just one that would be more challenging,
Right.
or it could be that it's just not right for you. You know. But
thank you for bringing in the 12 minutes 4 times a day. I love little nerdy things. As much as I love science, I also want to throw it out the window sometimes, you know what I mean? So I'm like, yes, I will absolutely try this.
Yeah.
Making it doesn't matter, but I'm still gonna try it.
Yeah. That'd be great. It'd be great to try. I want to know how it works out for you.
I will.
Yeah.
Is it 12 minutes 4 times a day or 4 times?
No. It's 12 minutes a day, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So I was actually surprised at how small of a commitment that is, and I realize for some people that might seem like a lot. Just like for me, exercising, doing physical exercise, 12 minutes a day it seems like a lot. But I was actually kind of surprised that scientifically measurable and verifiable changes to people's attention ability was verifiable after just 4 weeks of that. But yeah, just 12 minutes 4 times, so 48 minutes a week.
It showed that it promotes the growth of brain matter, from what I understand about.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. I've decided not to come up here and try to present all the scientific research because you guys can go home and and Google it. But yeah, there is a lot of there's a lot of studying into this, a lot of scientific research, and like I said, I don't know of any of it that's been bad that said, oh, you shouldn't meditate because it raises your blood pressure or something like that.
And the opposite is true. That
Yeah.
It's also been proven to lower blood pressure.
Yeah. Well, clinically shown through clinically trials, not proven.
How most people do it, it works all.
Big meditation, man. Lying out there cheap.
Yeah, well, if you can't trust meditation, I don't know. They're not making a lot of money. Although, it is, I guess, becoming a little bit industrialized. So it was funny because this Dr. Amishi Jha, who was presenting this evidence, and she was like, so only do meditations that have been scientifically verified. I'm like, no. I'm not going to wait for you to scientifically verify these meditations before I do that. So there's big meditation coming at you.
That is big, man. She says that. Really, man? You're gonna try and do that?
Okay, so we'll transfer Matt really quick, and then Anna has a few announcements, and I don't want to keep you guys too late. So you can join palms if you want. May any merit gained from this practice benefit all the living beings without exception, and may all beings be free from hostility, affliction, and anxiety, and live happily. Thank you guys all for being here. Happy New Year to everyone. And Anna, if you want to.
Hi, guys. I'm tonight's host. Vajrayana is also a host right here as well. The Dharma Temple, it was opened 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practices to those who just want to show up. Those who lead aren't nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and they're not looking for students. They're just practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night there's different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. There's a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone experiencing addiction. And the food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 right before this. There are classes and programs every day, and everything here is always free. The full schedule is on the website and also posted on the little guide that the shoe rack out there. There is a lending library. If you see it what you like, feel free to borrow. We can bring it back whenever you're done. Also feel free to bring anything Buddhist related in there. There is a silent meditation this Saturday from 8 to noon. If anybody wants to come to that, that happens the first Saturday of every month. And then as you guys are leaving, if you could just please straighten your seat or cushion, and if there are any windows, if we could close it if you have an eyeball on it, they're pretty much all closed because it's freaking cold. And thank you so much for being here. I hope that you are all well. Thank you for listening. And happy recording.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the little Buddhist.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Swag.
You get a Buddha. You get a Buddha. You get a Buddha.